So, everything in this dimension is the exact opposite of my dimension?
Uh-huh.
Okay, neat. Well, do you want to talk about the card games?
Yeah, absolutely not. I don't want to talk to you. You're not my friend.
Oh, wait a minute. I have to get back to my friends. Legends of Runeterra had multiple different metas in competitive play, and some cards just felt unfair to a point where even their counters were just not enough. Some of them didn't even have counters. Today we'll be looking down nostalgia lane to look at 5 cards that ruled over the meta. These cards are not in any ranking, but I'll try my best to start with the oldest and end with the newest. And there's a lot more outside this list, so if you want to see a part 2, let me know in the comments. Or just comment and like this video for the algorithm. It really helps a lot. Also, this video couldn't be made without the help of these people. Thank you guys are my legends of my Runeterra. Anyways, I'm Kryn, let's get started. Let's start with something really old, something the lore boomers would know. Grizzled Ranger before patch 1.12 was a menace. At face value, it was a 4-1 scout unit for 4 mana, until you read its effect, which lets you revive it into a 4-4 Badger Bear. So essentially what was happening was that you were using 4 mana to summon a 4-5 unit, with scout and a pseudo-permanent barrier. With 4 attack, you're pressured to block it, but blocking it just means you're trading a unit for its first life before it revives again, and your opponent attacks you again for another 4 damage. But this time, you may or may not be able to defeat it since it has 4 health. There was really not a reason why you wouldn't use Grizzled Ranger for a Demacia deck back then. Thankfully, after its nerf, it's dropped down to 3-1 and 3-4. Number 4 is Riptide Ceremony. This 6-cost spell was the strongest spell ever made, because on release, instead of doing 3 damage, it dealt 4 damage to a unit, and instead of 1 damage to a Nexus, it did 2 damage. And upon casting, it summoned a 3-3 unit. All of this was for 6 mana, mind you. 4 damage to a unit slays more than half the champion roster. A 3-3 was a good chump blocker, and 2 burn damage is burn damage. Overall, it just felt like this card was played in any Bilgewater deck, despite the deck not having a Lowy or a burn playstyle. Number 3 is Poppy. Remember when Poppy was a 4-3 card on release? And then when you attacked, it was a 5-4 card that buffed everyone attacking. Who thought this was a good idea? Also, don't forget, they then released Yordle Captain and Yordle Explorer when Poppy decks were still the best in the game. Ah yes, let's remove 1 power from Poppy to make her a 3-3. But then release a card that you're going to use on curve that will make her a 4-3 again, which will also buff other cards as well. It also didn't help that Bandle City is a region that took everything from other regions and puts it into one region. So not only was Poppy overtuned, but you had an overtuned region as well. Poppy had to be nerfed 2 times before she was okay at the stat line of 2-3. It was crazy, and that's all I can say. In number 2 we have Bandle Tree. When Bandle City was introduced, the Bandle Tree meta was born, and it is the reason why a bunch of landmark removals were updated and buffed today. When Bandle Tree was first introduced, it didn't have to see the followers from other regions on a board to proc its instant win effect. All you had to do was summon them during the match, and when you eventually drew Bandle Tree, you were 1 to 2 summons away from winning the game. Essentially, the game plan of the deck was to survive and swarm the board until he drew Bandle Tree, which back then had little to no removal. Nowadays, Bandle Tree has been nerfed to where the landmark has to see all the regions be on the board, which really slowed down the deck. Although it won't be missed, I wonder how good it could be in today's meta. And before I mention number 1, Liam, give us a drumroll. Finally, in number 1 we have Nami. Nami has been the final boss in competitive play in Legends of Runeterra for the longest period of time, and to think that she was even stronger back then is terrifying. When she was first released, she only needed 7 mana instead of 8 to level up, and her level 2 effect also gave +1 health along with +2 power, and her being really flexible with the newer cards that double casted spells meant that she was only getting stronger with each expansion. Nami also showed how powerful Sparklefly could be. A 2-cost unit with both elusive and lifesteal can get really big fast. Riot finally pulled the plug with patch 3.17 with Nami, and now Nami has seen little to no play in the most recent expansion. There's a lot of reasons why people dislike the Beyond of Bandlewood expansion, and it just felt like the old cards didn't stand a chance against the new. So when you're complaining about the meta today, just be glad that we're not under the dictatorship of Bandle City Mayor. And there we have it, 5 cards that dominated the meta in Legends of Runeterra. What else do you remember? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, I'm Kryn, don't do the legal, don't bleed Yu-Gi-Oh! Alright, peace.